Lab services in Cayman. MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway. Open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza. Your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on another magnificent Monday's edition of Talk Today as we invite you to be a part of it. 949-8037. Or you can hit us up on the toll-free line at 1-800-534-8255. Keep my company. Share your thoughts. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. It's going to be open line until we see our scheduled guests. Sometimes with all this transpiring, it's not always predictable. But we understand and just hope and pray that all is well. 1 o'clock, Miss Katina England will come into the studio. So that's on the cards. But between now and then, let's have some open line. 949-8037, 949-8037. Or toll free with the kind compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. You can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us as well. I know it's only Monday. I'll be honest with you. Between Friday and Monday, some of us think, what, it's Monday already? And for some of us it goes, geez, Friday was a year ago. Just depends on your perspective. Let's make the most of it. So the saying goes, make hay while the sun shines. Live as if you were dying. And sometimes the interpretation that we apply to those isn't necessarily what was intended, Make the most of every moment, not necessarily to take it at others' expense, but to contribute, to give as much of yourself, but to find time to enjoy life and to be appreciative. I would have ventured to say that there'll be very few, hopefully, and not many or even one, who would disagree that we don't live in one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful place in the world. Whether you're in Little Cayman Grand or Cayman Brac, it's a wonderful place. But how many of us get out to enjoy it? To look up when we're walking, to stop and smell that sweet taste of the salt air, to feel, that cooling breeze against our faces, to appreciate the company in which we're gathered, to just reflect, and not just reminisce, but to respect what we have before us. My good friend Nobi up in East always reminds us, that what may have been once a sleepy fishing village still holds fast its tradition. You drive by sometimes and you can smell the fish, freshly caught being fried. The fritters in the plantain just ready and waiting to be devoured. But it's the fun, the fellowship of the family and the friends that are joined. As we get into Christmas, I want us to start thinking about Christmas. Not just the gifts that we'll give and receive, but the fact that we can celebrate. For some of us, it's a special time because of what it commemorates. For others, it is that, one special time where we come together And even, arch enemies tend to want to put aside and put down their bowls, as it were, and, pick up a bowl, share some soup, maybe have a plate of turtle without any political negotiation and just fellowship. Well, that may not be as easy for some of us, even though we may want to do so, because, it's difficult financially. We're feeling a lot of hurt and pain because of loss of loved ones. Maybe we're separated physically from those, whether it's our children or our siblings or a special person in our life. It is, I know, without question. But if you start to very positively and pensively look forward and call those things that aren't as if they were, who knows, you might bring it into being. But be grateful in the moment. Grateful for what you have and what you can contribute. So, whether there's a compliment or a complaint, whether it's a question or a query, share with us. It doesn't have to be the misery loves company. What it should be is that great minds assemble, put their hands over heart, working together to make it better. We can call, on each other and know that when we have a friend in need, we are indeed, called to assist. So share with me. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. They say you never know what a man, and I would say you don't know what a woman, what a person is feeling. You may see the gleam in the eye and the glitter of hope. You may see that sense, that slight little glimmer of reservation can be replaced if you look closely and work really hard at a sense of positive expectation, that hopeful expectation of what may come. Walk in a person's shoes, you might have that sense of, really and truly what they're experiencing. Now, many of us have the empathy. We just aren't willing to take time and put ourselves out there to draw alongside others and to offer up a helping hand, a willing smile, a genuine, comment about when we ask, well, how are you doing? That we're willing to listen to that response. And when we say, well, can I help? Let me know if I can help in any way. It isn't just something to be polite. It's a willingness to say, well, how can I help? Comes back to the notion, if each of us were to give all that we have to our work, to our partners, would it not be that everybody gets, nobody is left out? Our politicians famous to follow some of the comments by others in the international arena. No child left behind, no this. Let it not be empty words. Let it actually be words that resonate with us because we're putting, everything we got into it. Well, positiveness is important, but also have a healthy sense of what is real so that reality, when it does, slap us sometimes in a way that wakes us up, we won't be unexpecting of what is coming. But just because the reality is one thing doesn't mean that we can't still be positive and reflect and respect and recognize that it doesn't always have to be bad. This too shall pass, we're told. So what's on your mind? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Either way, send your thoughts with us. Let us hear what you have to say. The good gentleman is right next door, ready to answer the calls. Now, I'll say to you that I had a conversation with someone just earlier, and the sentiments were simple. With so much going on, it's easy to say, well, that's above my pay grade, so I won't even bother to get into that. So busy just trying to tread water, make ends meet that, if I can survive through this, then, well, maybe it'll be better. But I lead us to ask the question, is it just to survive? Or is it, in our existence we want to contribute? When we recognize what is before us, we're so overwhelmed that we're probably unable to function, to think rationally. Maybe there's a lot of conflict and confusion. We're confounded by what is before us. We're distrustful. Well, surround yourselves. They say a man is known by the company he keeps. So with whom are we surrounded? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255 is a flow toll-free line. Or WhatsApp 925-3261. And share your thoughts. They say music has meaning. There's many messages in the lyrics. And as we listen to it, we appreciate that there are many gifted singers and songwriters. Some songs that are sung by, some are our more so favorite musicians resonate with us because of, well, maybe when we first heard it, where we were. Maybe the song reminds us of certain things. But if we carefully analyze and listen to the lyrics as we do, for us, it has a particular story. Billy Joel, I think, is probably one of those gifted singer-songwriters. And then he, one of the songs he sings, he talks about, people, always taking a piece of, everything they touch, too many pieces indicates that they touch too much. The problem is, when we're touching, are we touching to take? Are we touching to bless, to heal, to contribute, to give? To sometimes pull, push in a positive way to make sure people get to those places where they're better served. For us, it's about collection. We want to acquire and accumulate as much as possible because at the end of the day, we live by the mantra, he who dies with the most toys wins. Well, with the greatest respect, you still did. So can you take it with you? Maybe like the pharaohs, you believe so. You leave behind a legacy that you provided for those who come behind, and that is very admirable. But I believe they may have wanted one thing from you more than that. That was your time you spent, the jokes you shared, the pearls of wisdom that you imparted. Time. I don't know about the wealth that we may acquire, but I'm not sure that even the richest of the rich can buy a nanosecond. Not even a second. A nanosecond. So how are we spending our time? Well, we want you to spend some of it with us as you share your thoughts, as you remind us of why we are grateful for what we have and where we are, or why we are bitter. In our endeavor to be better, we're a little bit bitter. Why we feel so despondent. Hopefully no sense of despair, but we're feeling a bit, down. Maybe there is something that has aggrieved us, and perhaps we can speak to it just generally. Sometimes we don't know how to because we've been, in our minds, offended by John or Peter or James or Mary. But maybe it wasn't the act, it was the person. Or maybe it wasn't so much the person, but the act. How do we separate one from the other? And so that it does not only repeat itself, but it doesn't happen to somebody else. It's like driving along the road, and after heavy rain, you're one of the first to go along the road, and there's a big, gaping sort of crater. We can't call it a pothole. And it's damaged your car. It startled you. But many of us would quickly, pull aside, put up some sort of indication that, be mindful of this crater in the road. But many of us would probably say, what happened to me? Let the other person figure it out, and I got through. Well, what is our perspective and our mindset? And which of the two you think would be the better option? Let's pause and take that short break, and when we come back, we invite you to call and share your thoughts with us, 949-8037, or you can call toll-free, 1-800-534-8255. The first call after the break, do you know what you get? Well, you get to hear Paul's voice when he answers. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
What do you do if you have to go to a shelter? To help you safely prepare, evacuate, and shelter while protecting yourself and others from COVID-19 this hurricane season, here's some tips from the Public Health Department. If you must go to a shelter, be ready to protect yourself and others. Practice social distancing of at least 6 feet from others. Follow public health's preventative actions. Wash your hands with soap and water, often if possible, or use hand sanitizer, cover coughs and sneezes, and wear mask or cloth face coverings. Get your COVID-19 vaccine when eligible. Avoid sharing food and drink with anyone. For more guidance to update your emergency hurricane plans due to coronavirus, visit www.caymanprepared.gov.ky. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. It is truly another magnificent Monday. I think it was Mr. Lomax, back in the day, early, on the way into work, probably somewhere between 7:30 and 7:40. He would play. Was it the Mamas and the Papas? Monday? That song, and it was a big hit for many. For some of us, man, to hear that Monday, da 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 da. It was almost an anthem for some, and for others, it was, I think, they antagonized more than ever. But it isn't, whether it's a Monday or a Friday. It's a mindset that drives us. How do we perceive things, and how do we look to things? Think of our earlier reference to Christmas. Not only as a child or as an adult, we may look very jubilantly to Christmas, but it depends on our setting. And to the child from whom the expectation is nothing, it's a reminder of sadness. Or the adult for whom it may have been that, or the inability to meet some of the expectations. Those that we have imposed on ourselves, those that we believe or we finally felt have been imposed upon us by society. Because of lack of income or other things, we can't give the gifts that we want or afford to give the ones that we would like. But is it, as much as we say, not so much about giving, but it's about being able to share of yourself and your time. Now, easier said than done if you're the person for whom that burden wears heavily. And maybe now, in almost the middle of October, as we start to look as to what will transpire. The Canadians are celebrating their Thanksgiving this week. The Americans will follow soon. We'll do something similar, perhaps ill-timed, as I've always believed. The intention is great. As a preview to Christmas, with all of the celebrations to be had, the much food and festivities to be enjoyed, maybe we look at it and start to appreciate that it's about the time we spend, the way we celebrate with each other, and what we do. Well, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. And we look at how for a very long time, we probably, like many other places, we're probably seen as those remote, unforgotten places. And then, like much, you become this gem that is treasured. But oftentimes, the more it's worn and it's beaten, it probably becomes like the new car. First you take care of it, you wash it, you clean it, you service it. You go to the car park and it gets dinged and dented, and then in time it just becomes an old thing. Well, maybe it's not just the physical possession, but the appreciation of having something. Let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling Green.
And to you, sir. How are you today?
Just fine, thank you. That wonderful song you're talking about, Monday, I think it came out in 1969. I'm pretty sure it was 1969, but I can't remember what group did it. I think I have in mind a couple of groups, but I know Mr. Loxley would know. Wonderful show he does here on Saturday nights. I really enjoy that. And must commend on the Radio Cayman Sunday presentation, the very Christian things. It's inspirational and very thought-provoking sermons, and it's very important as a Christian country that we have those things.
Very important.
Very important. Yeah. Exceedingly important, especially in these days. So much influence from other religions and so forth. I won't go into that anymore, but just like to say I'm very concerned about this issue of trying to cull cats. I'm very against that. And I saw where they had a picture of a cat. I was saying to my wife, it looks like all white. It's just a spitting image of him. Might have swum water. I know cats are great swimmers, but I didn't know it swim that far, just like him. So I'm having an iguana in its mouth, a rock iguana. You got to remember, cats have always been a great blessing to us. They kill rats, and we know how dangerous rats can be. Doesn't take much of any intellect to check out all the history of that, what harm they have done in societies, and how cats were used and employed by the British government in their post offices. You can check this out. And they were given pensions and all this, I guess, to the people who handle them. And you don't have to believe me, you can check this out for yourself. They were used there, the rats would eat the mail and so forth. And in many instances, we see they kill rats. You know how I have one female that is bringing a rat almost every day. We have very few rats. I'm here, but they'll find them. And we know that we had them set in cat colonies. No one can deny that, please. Don't accept any denial from any part of our government that this wasn't done. There were cat colonies set up with cats to eradicate or help eradicate the green iguanas when we decided we no longer like that color, I guess. And they were able to climb trees, and so the cats could get them. And I have cats that could bring us a couple every day, bring them there in a split second. The green iguanas, and they were set in cat colonies. I know where the colonies were, because I have few cats that came to me from those colonies. They're all spayed and neutered and so forth, and make wonderful pets and very useful. And we can help this very primitive creature, the rock iguana, on here to survive by making it a kind of a zoo animal. That's how we get to see animals. People get to see animals that would be extinct or would be finished out if they hadn't kept them in that sort of facility where we can fence around things and stuff and so forth. I don't know what the rock iguana eats. I don't know what it does for us, whether it eliminates any harmful plants or bugs or what. And I do know that birds eat them too. And we have birds that come along and eat the lizard and the frogs in the night time, the night heron, and I see them. So watching them do that many nights, it's hard to stop them, those birds. So we can't keep calling everything. What we've got to do is try and protect those things that are primitive things that have come up and never learned to adopt or didn't try to adopt to this modern world. The cats, dogs have done, and being able to live and coexist with us, because we're not going to go back in time. I'd love for us to go back to the Cayman of 50 years ago. It's not going to happen. And we weren't interested at all in iguanas. No use anyone trying to say this. That's something that just came up recently, and it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. But my suggestion is to try to keep these animals, those kinds of things, in the type of zoo atmosphere, because there are a lot of other things that are predators for them. Trust me, birds, we're not going to be able to kill all our birds and things, and you know, the list goes on and on. Parrots, been killed out mostly by the greatest predator for parrots has been man. Our own man, we shoot them, and I think they've stopped doing that now, allowing that. We have found other ways, and they're beautiful birds and stuff like that, and it's our national bird. But these are the things, that the way of nature. It handles itself, survival of the fittest. They will survive, and the others will survive, and our cats will survive too, and they're useful to us.
Right.
They're good pets. So I'm very against it, completely against that, calling of our cats. We can save those iguanas, a good program. By other means, we can easily try to, as I said, make it a zoo type of situation. There's plenty of people here who are interested in these things that make big salaries, have come here to live. They can contribute something by helping us to build the proper boundaries for them and so forth. It can be done. No use anyone telling me it can't be done. That's preposterous. So that is my take on that important issue. Again, as I say, I'm absolutely against us culling our cats. I'll contribute to anything in my humble way that they like to do to protect these little rock iguanas, little or big, but I'm against culling the cats. I'll not even bother to try to debate this with anyone.
Right.
I say right now, I'm absolutely against that. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. I'll listen on.
Thank you too, sir. And that is a topic that perhaps for some of us, we don't pay much attention. For others, and I appreciate the gentleman, as he is always very willing to share his opinions, as he says, and emphasizes his opinion. But he's very, very, knowledgeable, very forthright. And I think through him we can be encouraged and garner some of the courage that it takes to share our perspective. That is one of the healthiest signs of our democracy, when its citizens can share opinions without having a great sense of fear, especially from the state, which is probably not the case that we're seeing in some of the democracies. Some would even say here it's maybe being impinged. But that issue of the cats, I think it's well, I'll share with you one sentiment from a lady once. She said, I can't even believe that is something that's being considered. Now, there is much bigger issue that is affecting our society when we see feral cats or, dogs and other domesticated animals not just being mistreated or, the maltreatment that they may get at the hands of their owners, but to be freely allowed to roam about. Some seemingly don't have a home, but they bounce around the neighborhood. Some just seem to be wild and out and about and terrorizing. But that speaks to us as supposedly the more intelligent species doing something that speaks to truly question our intellect. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. As we pause and go to the break, one of our listeners reminds us that the song Monday Monday was released in 1966 by the Mamas and the Papas. And, I've always enjoyed listening to Radio Cayman. I think I always will. For some of us, we grew up with it. Some of us, we were in our formative years when the radio came on stream. For others, we were at our twilight, but it always meant something as it does still. So let's pause and take a break, and maybe you'll share with us your thoughts. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vamt Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vamt Motors, Walkers Road.
Individuals requiring letters to their employers confirming they have been placed in mandatory isolation due to ongoing COVID-19 contact tracing requirements can obtain these by request to Public Health. Please request by email only to quarantine@hsa.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. It is open line here on our Talk Today for this magnificent Monday. Whether you subscribe and used to sing along to the mamas and the papas on the Mondays, and if you looked at it as being a magical day, or you saw it as misery starts again. It's a matter of perspective, sometimes shaped in the form by our experiences and expectations, and even with that, we can still be positive. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
How are you?
I'm okay, thanks. He just told me. Today's open line, stand by.
Man. There you go.
You had just want to brag about growing up with Radio Cayman. I can say that to you that I'm much older.
There you go. What do you mean?
But but it is a good radio station, and the people are very down to earth, and I thank God for them. I also want to thank God, and I ask His blessings on those public health nurses, the doctors, the paramedics, 911, all of them, because I think we're doing very well, and the government as well. We're doing very well of they trying to keep us safe, regardless of how much you want to say. I need to choose what to put in my body, or this is my body. That's their business. But they can't say that when they take their child to be vaccinated at 6 weeks old, or when they get a little older, and I think it's 3 shots before they get the booster at age 14 or something, do they really know what's going in their child body? I'll tell you something that I witnessed. We were at a training session some time ago. It was a medical training session, and it was about 7:30, 8 o'clock when the door burst open, and in ran one girl. He's gonna kill me! He's gonna kill me! He's gonna kill me! And behind her was, I don't know, you can't call that a gentleman, but it was a man behind her with a piece of wood. Good thing it was some men there. I would say that piece of wood was about like a 2x4. And anyhow, we had to call the police. And before the police got to us, some of us had to stay behind and try to calm her down. Mm-hmm. The men, drove him out of the place, but the police still caught up. They carried her, I think, was to the crisis center. I'm asking anyone, do she have a choice or what she should do with her body? That's just one example. I could go on and on and on. But that same person, every time they see me, because I was one of them that stayed behind, taking my own life in my hands and praying to God that he don't burst in that door again and kill us all with that piece of 2x4. Every time that person see me, they can't not look at me because that person is in this, I have a choice for my body. Sometimes when they go to the crisis center, and not now, I think they got it much more organized, but when we first opened it, they were allowed to carry their phones in with them, and a day or two later, they're calling the same person that put them in that crisis center with black and blue eyes and sometimes teeth knock out and that kind of thing. Excuse me. Oh, but he didn't mean to do that, He said that he loved me, and call them and tell them where they are. Don't they have a choice that a man not supposed or a woman, because sometimes it happens to men too, beat up on any human being regardless of their faults. So I'm wondering, what are they afraid of? They don't know enough, but millions and millions of people has taken this vaccine, and it's only some that they come up with all kinds of excuses, because I can repeat what I heard this morning. Some of them are Facebook PhDs, okay? That's their business. I only pass in my opinion, and I am only saying what I witnessed. I witnessed something like that, and I've also been to the crisis center. But I could go on, but I am only asking people to be more kind to themselves so we can get to open up this island, because money ain't gonna last forever. And be more careful, help the public health, because that's who we have to run to in other occasions. And God forbid if that occasion should turn up right now. That's who we have. So we're not saying we trust them. Oh, yes, we do. We do trust them because we run into them when something happened to our children or family members or something else. So thank them all. Everybody business is everybody business, but this is something I've seen and I've witnessed. I thank you, Dwayne,
yes, ma'am.
And happy day to Radio Cayman, and you all have a good day, and you all very good,
as well.
very good staff.
All right, well,
thank you again.
Thank you too, man. Thank you for those words. And as we listen to the caller, it's maybe something to consider, and much as what she's sharing sort of speaks to the society's need to look more closely at our actions and our inactions, and what some of the ills that plague our people. When we look at the level of violence against individuals, are we cognizant of some of the factors that are driving that? Are we able to offer up the assistance to the aggressor as well as the person who's aggrieved? Are we conscious that maybe it's us that we need to step up to be our brother's keeper, to be that example, to provide the level of counseling and support and the outlet and avenues whereby people can deal with whatever emotions, including anger, the frustrations that we may have, the understanding that the expectation should not, in fact, be this consequence as a result of this particular scenario. And then when it comes to trust, maybe that's one of the hard things, becoming increasingly so. Not only we are distrustful of some of the people that are close to us, but the behaviors of many, from the pharmaceutical companies to the politicians, to the other pundits who may proffer some sort of particular perspective. We may perceive that they have an ulterior motive, and it's probably heavily driven by money or some other thing that we have concluded to be more sinister. Well, if we're more honorable and have greater sense of humility, maybe there'll be greater sense of trust. All right, we're going to pause and take that break. When we come back, there'll be more talk today as we invite you to be a part of a discussion. Stay tuned.
Youth Flex Season of Joy continues this week. Show 818 is all about making a joyful noise.
First in the hot seat will be Mrs. Cassandra Ebanks Powery from the Northside Wesleyan Holiness Church, who will be telling us about their upcoming youth convention.
Sound interesting? Join us for the lowdown on when, where, and what you can expect.
And returning for the second consecutive show is local artist Erica Asai, who will be discussing what's next for her and her musical aspirations over the coming months.
Joyful noises abound this Wednesday from 4 to 5 here on Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
That's right, 1 full hour of noise. As usual, you can watch us live on YouTube or join the conversation by calling our toll-free line. We look forward to chatting with you. Call in and tell us what a joyful noise is to you, or you can just say hi. Youth Flex, a program for all people by young people. Youth Flex, more than talk.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
As of 8 a.m. this morning, Chief Medical Officer Dr. John Lee reports 1,474 additional PCR tests carried out for SARS-CoV-2. Of these, there are 9 positive tests in travelers exiting from quarantine and 14 positive tests from the community, which include 10 children. Dr. Lee says he's happy to report that both infants that were admitted last week are well and have been discharged home. Turning to international news now, the World Health Organization in a new special report is calling for governments and policymakers to act with urgency on the climate and health crisis. The report describes climate change as the single biggest health threat facing humanity and outlines 10 recommended climate and health actions along with the research in support of why each action is beneficial. Groups representing 45 million nurses, doctors, and health professionals around the world have now signed an open letter to heads of state and national delegations urging action on the climate crisis ahead of a pivotal UN climate change summit in early November. Iraq says it has captured the jihadist group Islamic State's financial chief in an operation outside its borders. Sami Jasmine al-Jabouri was arrested in a complex external operation by the Iraqi National Intelligence Service that, according to Iraq's prime minister, who tweeted without specifying a location. He added that Mr. Jasmine was a deputy leader of the IS under the late Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. The U.S. had offered a $5 million reward for information leading to his capture. And the Ethiopian army has launched coordinated attacks on all fronts against forces from the northern Tigray region, the rebels say. They said the government was using artillery, tanks, jets, and drones in an attempt to re-invade the region. A senior rebel source said Tigray forces were holding their ground. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. And as we, just before we go to start with our next segment with Ms. Katina Anglin, a paid segment, let's just quickly take the caller in the queue. Good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne Sterling. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon. This is Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and is that the good fellow who I should know better?
Sorry, I should know better. Yeah.
There you go. How are you?
Good, man. Everything is good. Like you say, it's Monday.
Yep.
Good start for the week. Good weather. The only thing that's really been bothering me is the situation with the young children, especially. Of course, most of the public schools, many of them are out on early break now because of the COVID situation. Learning, hopefully doing some home-based learning, school lessons. But that doesn't mean that a lot of them are still not obviously scared, uncertain. A lot of them are probably home alone. Not all parents can afford, to hire someone to...
Right.
Even, teenagers even, and just because they're 13, 14, that doesn't mean that they're not still worried.
But they're still vulnerable as well, right?
Very vulnerable as well, very.
Right.
So the community really needs to help keep an eye on these children and help support the families, even if it's dropping by, making sure they have some lunch or whatever they coordinate with the parents. But yeah, I really feel for them, and especially with those that are sick as well. Even babies are now becoming infected. So I think we need to support these parents. I know the education system is helping the kids at home. Of course, lots of teachers as well, and even families are also in mandatory isolation because of the recent outbreaks.
Right.
So they all need a lot of support. We can't just go about life as usual and pretend when there's hundreds or thousands of kids now at home or otherwise affected by what's happening. So.
Right. That's it, man. Even they're socializing and stuff. So
definitely. Well, the good thing is they most of them should have their laptops now issued by the education system, so they can communicate with their teachers and schools.
But a laptop can't replace a frisbee, huh?
Exactly. It can't replace that human contact.
Right.
But also a lot of them, hopefully with responsibility, are using things like social media and cell phones to maintain some level of social,
interaction
with their friends. Right.
Yeah, man.
But all of that needs, supervision and monitoring as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, and hopefully that's not something that we dismiss outright. So thank you very much.
Exactly.
And we will know the opportunity maybe you'll find your schedule that we can have you in the studio with me sometime, all right?
Sure, definitely.
All right. Enjoy your afternoon.
You too.
Thanks. And as we go to our paid segment with Ms. Katina Anglin for the Christian Association for Civics and Political Education. They go hand in hand, yeah. Maybe that other E should be for economics, but we'll get there. I appreciate your, stalwart, forthright, championing of freedoms and the wonderful guests you've allowed us to sort of be introduced to. Through you, as we get into the discussion, maybe Mr. Matthews, Katina could offer up introduction as appropriate.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. Good afternoon, Cayman Islands. God bless each and every one of you who are listening in this afternoon. God bless the Cayman Islands. And a special shout out to Mr. George Shellett out there in Bodden Town. I know how to keep my friends. Ms. Charlene, good afternoon to you as well. So this is a citizens initiative brought to you by the Christian Association for Civics and Political Education, as Dwayne just set out for you. He got the name.
Without writing it down. Boy.
Yes, without writing it down. This afternoon I have with me Mr. Mark Matthews. Mr. Matthews is a graduate with his master's in law from Oxford University. He has contributed immensely to our legal and financial environment here in his former position. And without me spilling the info, what I will do is I will ask Mark to share with the public some brief details about himself.
And thank you very much. And if Mr. Schofield doesn't mind me saying, just so people know, not everybody we have in the studio, we just pick up off the parking lot as he shared. I know Ms. Katina likewise does it. So it helps us to add some context to the discussion and the seriousness, but also the resolve to invite people to discourse. Move away from the division and let's have dialogue.
Yes.
Champion the democracy as opposed to... Right.
Thank you. Because every resident in this country has the right, the freedom of expression, the right to have their voices sounded and heard by the government.
And even if they sing as bad as I do, this should be heard still.
It should still be heard.
Mr. Matthews, thank you very much. And if you would,
Thank you very much, Dwayne. Thank you, Katina. That's very nice of you. Yes, I've been on the island for nearly 22 years now, and I was actually in Maples and Quarters London office for a year and a half before coming out here to work in Cayman. So I've been practicing Cayman law until last year when I retired, nearly 25 years. My experience was in a whole range of different areas of law in the earlier years, corporate funds, trust, and then I really ended up specialising in the finance sector, and I ended up heading up the group globally on the finance side of things at Maples and Quarter. But I do stress that my views are very much my own. I'm no longer at Maples and Quarter. I'm retired, so I don't want to in any way, shape or form suggest that my views are those of Maples. This is definitely my home. My children, my daughter was born here. My son was 2 when I came here. And these beautiful islands, the moment I landed, I was blown away. I've never wanted to live anywhere else. And for me, what's happened in the last 18 months has been incredibly divisive. There's a lot of fear out there, and understandably so. I don't think this is an easy thing that we're dealing with. And the media are pumping fear day in, day out, and we hear cases and all the time. And I think that has, unfortunately... affected people's ability to really see through what's going on and think logically and rationally about it. Because, if you look at the actual numbers in 2020, for example, there was no excess mortality anywhere. We saw a lot of reclassification of death as COVID death or with COVID. And even the CDC has come out in the last few months to say that less than 6%, I think, or 6% of the people that died actually died simply of COVID with no other comorbidities. And then you also look at the age of people dying, and the average age, for example, in the UK is something like 82 with comorbidities, and the average age of death in the UK is 80. So it is a nasty thing, but it is affecting a certain age group. It's affecting people who are very ill, and people who are very old. It's nothing. At the end of the day, I think that we should be so scared of that we forget maybe some home truths about how we can treat this thing and deal with it. And I think maybe we've lost sight of that, Dwayne.
I'm glad that there are increasing in numbers of people, from the teacher to the accountant, from the lawyer to the doctor, from just the regular Joes who host talk shows to others, asking questions, not to create any more divide, but to ask us, how do we come together and recognize that we're in this boat together, and if we're going to sail the rough seas, or we're going to pull into port to weather the storm, if we're not all hands on deck, it's going to become even more difficult. And as time passes, we'll start to realize that either our actions were warranted or they were just misguided. So how do we get to that space where we understand the facts as we know it, and not skewed by media hype or someone else with some other, ulterior motive? So, Scatino, sometimes, it's the martyr who is champion, but then that's no good because the martyr is no longer with us, right?
I think, you asked a question just now, how do we pull through this? And truthfully, we can only do it together. We have to respect every individual's right to choose their medical treatment and other decisions that they may choose to make throughout life, including what it is that they will say publicly and privately. And but we have to respect that, because not only is it good for us as human beings to be respectful, but our Constitution also affords us those protections, and we have to respect the highest document in the country, right? We have to do it together. Look, my brother is vaccinated. I'm unvaccinated. The two most loving people on the face of this earth is me and my brother. We refuse to let the issue come between us. And I think that we as society need to make the choice that we're not going to let this divide us. Because we're choosing, yes, the media has certainly spewed a lot of fear into it, like Mark was saying just now. Without a doubt. There's been so much brainwashing and so much bamboozling and so on, right? But then at the end of it, we realize that, look, we're individuals and human beings in coexistence. We have to peacefully coexist, right? Now, if I reflect on the lady who called in, perhaps the caller before I got to the studio, and she was talking about, women who get beaten and go to the crisis center, and that they don't pretty much have a choice in making bad decisions and so on. But what those women are doing, for whatever reason that they're doing, is they're choosing to put themselves back in that situation. And what we do is we continue to advocate with them and for them, and we try to show them different ways and stuff. But we don't push them out in front of a speeding ambulance after that, because we don't agree with their choices, right?
But as I listen to you, and the choice is one thing. We understand that even in Cayman, we've recently passed legislation that advanced directives. We can tell the physician if it appear in an emergency room in this circumstance, take instructions from this person, please don't do no more than this, or do all of this. But is this then something that strikes people, if I could, and it's just questions that have been fielded, questions that I've sort of mulled over as well. We look at public health legislation and the powers that sometimes sort of rest within that. We look at the UK as just renaming Public Health England to the UK what? Health security. Now, maybe I'm taking too much in that word security, but is it that this is a stepping stone to something more than what we're seeing before us? So is it that the public is being a little bit too fearful, giving all the information? Is the public, because of media and government officials sharing things, that we no longer are able to think, as you said, reasonably and rationally what's before us? Is this as bad as what we're saying? Is it worse than what we're appreciating?
Well, that was always what sort of got me at the beginning of this. I was told there was going to be a 3% death case mortality rate or something like that, and that was based on an Imperial College Professor Neil Ferguson study. It turned out that he's actually not a doctor or epidemiologist or virologist. He has skills in, I think my understanding is in modelling and things like that. And his assumptions, from what I've read of other virologists and epidemiologists who looked at it, were wholly wrong. So that initial study really did create a lot of fear, got people to do the lockdowns, when in fact it was wholly wrong, and those numbers were never going to be that high. And we did have some huge deaths in northern Italy and places like that. But again, it was a very old population, and we're now finding out that it was actually the protocols that were implemented, and specifically putting people on ventilators. And even the Italian doctors have admitted 9 out of 10 patients died not because of COVID, but because of ventilation. I mean, it is a very invasive procedure, and you are putting people into a coma with very nasty drugs to do it. And old people who are really not well just never had a chance of coming out of that. So I think there was a lot of initial fear, and it's understandable why the government did what they did in light of that. But I think as evidence became clearer, and there were alternative treatment protocols coming out that actually work, I'm not sure why the fear was continued to be pushed so hard. And I don't know if the mandating of vaccines is part of a bigger push for, say, a vaccine passport, which people talk about. And that is a whole other thing. I mean, there's a lot of control embedded in that. And we see that with the sort of Chinese social credit system, which is really a passport system. And everything then becomes linked into that, not just your vaccine status or your health, but potentially down the road, your financial, your banking, all this sort of stuff gets linked in. And your ability to travel is all linked to that. So that may be where this is going. I really don't know. But I don't think the vaccines, I don't think this virus really warrants what's being undertaken. And again, from the very get-go, my understanding was that the risk of death from this, even without treatment, for most people was incredibly low. Actually no worse than probably a bad flu. So I don't know why this has been treated so differently, Dwayne. I just don't understand it.
Is this then part of the challenge? Because the division comes about, I think, partly because of fear, partly because people who ask a question, and maybe as media, or we have consciously or just inadvertently contributed. If it bleeds, it leads. It makes a good story. We get viewers, we get listenership, we get the ratings, and therefore it's good for us. Even if we don't want to conclude or even assume that there is some more sinister ulterior motive, the crumbs are there to question, and in questioning, many of us are maligned and marginalized, or we ostracize. And kudos to you and your brother, but you're probably, unfortunately, the rare species now, because there are many divided households. Well, you're not vaccinated, you're not staying in my bed, or you're vaccinated, you're not going to be in my house. We're not going to have. And we can't go to gyms. Traveling is somewhat restricted. This is not just something that is going to affect us now, but our elderly parents, to our young children.
I mean, I can't believe we're here, quite honestly, Dwayne, over something like this. I mean, it's only 80 years ago that we had, we had what came out of the Second World War. We had the Nuremberg Code, and that was really aimed more at doctors and experimentation. But let me be crystal clear. This vaccine in Cayman, Pfizer, is not approved. The FDA approved something else called Comirnaty. Comirnaty is not in existence, and it's legally distinct from the Pfizer BNT 162b2, or whatever the name of that vaccine is that we have here. That is still, and I looked on the UK website, it is still an emergency authorization usage.
Right. Now, I'm not going to say this to be overly complimentary, but Oxford-trained attorney, we had physicians, just for argument's sake, Dr. Tomlinson and others, who said the same thing. Then there are many of us with less academic qualification, less experience, less willingness to delve into the research, who would quickly dismiss it. Oh no, the press release said it was approved. I mean, we read it on, in public record. So even to that, we seem to be conflicted and confused as to whether is it this or that.
I don't know whether that was done on purpose to create and sow confusion, to enable more people to be vaccinated. But when the vaccine isn't actually doing what we've been told it will do, it's not stopping transmission, and that's very clear now. And the CDC and the World Health Organization have actually acknowledged this. It sort of runs a coach and horses through the argument of mandating that vaccine. If it's not doing what it's meant to do, I don't quite understand why the push so hard to have everybody vaccinated now, when vaccinated people are just as likely, and in many cases from what we're seeing out of Israel and the UK, more likely to actually get COVID, or breakthrough cases of COVID, or whatever you want to call them, and in bigger numbers than the actual percentage of people actually vaccinated.
All right. So, if I could then ask you, and I'm really grateful for this. I know, and I'll just say it this way, I'm big enough to take the licks, but there are people who will quickly draw alongside you if they, what you're saying agrees with them. But they're just as quick to push it to the curb because, you are anti-vax. Another most unfortunate term that we've seen to have adopted. But in this instance, there is the legal aspect from the impact on human rights, but there is the real ability of people to live and to provide. I think of two instances. We've got people who are being told by their employers who say, listen, take this thing or you don't have a job. And they're, I don't want to take it for whatever reason, but I have to because I got a mortgage to pay, I got children to feed, I got school fees to pay, and they don't necessarily effectively have a job. But then those who would like to go to exercise to honor and make use of the gym membership that they had and their health to be maintained, well, if they don't provide this evidence, they can't access. Now, is that the world we live in a democracy, or is that par for the course and this is what we have to subscribe to?
Well, speaking about banning people from the gym because you can't produce a proof of vaccination, then really, throws the axe in the machinery of the health argument the government was putting out. Because we were all encouraged to eat healthily, fruits and vegetables and exercise. And when you're banning people from going to the gym because they can't produce proof of something, that they have a choice whether or not they're going to receive it, and that something does not protect anyone, not themselves nor any other person in the gym, from contracting any illness, then what's your point? What's your argument now?
Fair enough, but let me...
But we also have to consider what the economic fallout is going to be.
Right.
With all of these businesses who are advocating, one, their employees without a compensation program for vaccination, and two, their customers who, are now saying, I'm not going to contribute to your business because you're trying to force me to do something.
But let's ask the question. Let's take the gym for argument's sake and the employment after. So a person has paid their gym dues January 1st, for argument's sake, and they've got a few months left. Is that going to be prorated and refunded? The impact on their health, the impact on their physical as well as their socializing, because that's where we socialize in many instances. And if that person says, I have a right, I've paid a dues to come in here, if that person now was to go to the gym to exercise, is that person subjected to some sort of sanction by the law as well as the gym owners and managers? So if I presented myself and I'm not going to show my vaccination, this is a personal thing, I choose not to be vaccinated, and you go in, there are real consequences to that person doing that, are there not?
Well, the regulations set out specifically, and it mentions, since we're talking about gyms, about entry into gyms and so on. But there was one person who knew their rights recently, and they said to the gym owner, fine, those are the regulations. You didn't make those regulations, the government did. Here's my contract. When we entered this contract, this was our agreement.
Right, so it's going to be retroactive.
Okay? If you want to apply those regulations to other persons who want to sign up, then you should put a sign on your door advising them of the regulations. In the meantime, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to honor the contract that I have, or you're going to give me back my money. Because nowhere in this does it mention anything about,
fair enough,
in case of public health emergency or in case of any regulation from the government or anything of the sort. And they then got their money back from the gym. Okay? You get enough people following that example, the gyms are going to start feeling it, right? And this is going to be one of the economic fallouts, just using the gym example. Because then how does he continue to pay his personal trainers and his health insurance and his personal liability insurance and so on, when persons, even those who are vaccinated, are saying, I don't appreciate what you're doing to human beings and taking away their freedom of choice. And I think right now is a great place for me to interject that there are a great number of vaxxed people who are supporting the freedom to choose whether or not to be vaccinated. And there are a great number of, even up until the gathering on Friday night, there were vaxxed people there. amongst the unvaxxed.
Right.
And they're not appreciating what it is that's happening
The force.
to our constitutional rights in the country.
Right.
And they're wise enough to know that if this continues on this leg, what comes next?
Right.
What other right is ripped away from you, right?
Yeah.
So perhaps, I think, Dwayne, we're getting ready to go for...
No, I was going to say to you, so you have until, 1:30 to stay?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll let you share your thoughts, and Mr. Mark, if you have time after. Sure. Because this is not just an academic discussion. I'm hopeful, honestly, I'm very hopeful that people will start to listen, from the politician to the pastor, to the parent, to the principal of the school, start to think that today it's this, tomorrow it's that. And whether you are one of those people whose minds allow you to the freedom to think, well, what is next? Whether it's a sinister plot or whether it's just people, enjoy. I mean, we've all watched the movies where there's the evil, manipulative behind the scenes wanting to conquer the world. We're guilty of,
or just economic, huge economic play here with companies making out like bandits.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. So whatever the reason, but there's a real cost to people. Their lives are being affected in a material way. Relations are being soured, and we are undermining people's health. The gym is a great example. Many of us will not exercise unless we're in that setting where the taskmaster is saying, hey, come on, you can do one more rep. So, Ms. Katina, let us allow you a voice, and then we can continue.
Continuing on the discussion about the possible economic, or predictable, rather, economic fallout from passing mandatory vaccination in the country is... we herald ourselves being a friendly place and being crime-free. One of the things that has attracted people here to this country to live and to remain, with a legitimate expectation to remain. But if you start messing around with people's jobs and employment and income, then you start getting a higher and higher unemployment rate. Mm-hmm. Everybody in this country with 2 licks of sense knows that high unemployment equals high crime. Different, everybody's going to live. Mm-hmm. People have their minds made up. I'm going to feed my children. Mm-hmm. Okay? I never forget a testimony once of a man in Jamaica who said, I never wanted to do anything wrong until my child cried and said, Daddy, I'm hungry. And he became a criminal because his child cried and said, Daddy, I'm hungry. So we need to be very cognizant of what it is that we're doing and what is about to happen when you start firing people because people want to maintain their right to choose. When people start withdrawing their funds from entities who are demanding vaccinations, such as the one example there with the gym membership, but there are others, because I personally canceled a contract the other day because I found out that they were forcing their employees to be vaccinated, and there was one individual in there who was standing up for their right to choose whether or not to be vaccinated, and it came on my ears, and I called them up and I said, I'm really, really sorry, but I won't be spending my money with you because I'm not supporting tyranny. Mm-hmm. That individual has the right to choose whether or not they will be vaccinated. You do not have a compensation plan for your employee, and I'm not spending my money with you because you are then going to use that as a carrot before the horse and say, if you want to get paid, this is what it is you have to do. And I don't support that type of communistic, abusive approach. Mm. So then, if we have higher crime, then that's going to affect our global reputation. So these tourists that you want to open up to are going to start reconsidering, well, is there another option for me for my vacation destination, right? Mm-hmm. Then we also have to consider the foreign investors' contribution into this country as well. Mm-hmm. And there was created in our law specifically for permanent residents of independent means to come to this country, purchase their property, set down their stakes, lay out their ranch, kick back and relax and drink lemonade. Whether they did that on an open swath of land or whether they did it on 7 Mile Beach, it doesn't matter. The immigration law permitted for people of means to come here. People chose to come here because we were a safe environment. Mm-hmm. Now we have persons who have contributed amazingly to our society, who are getting ready to pull up those stakes. Take what they have, what they can't take with them, put it up for sale, and go invest elsewhere, right? We can't afford to be losing the very people that we said it was necessary for us to build our economy. And the permanent resident in this country and the foreign investor in this country has contributed to that. I remember when we were building this god called the foreign investor, and every debate in the Legislative Assembly was about why we needed to change laws and amend laws so the foreign investor could come in and build their businesses and set down set out their business, accomplish their business goals and stuff here in the Cayman Islands, and it was going to create jobs, and we were going to generate revenue and all the rest of it. And now they're in. We've closed the door on them and said, listen, we don't respect your investment in this country. We don't respect your contribution and your social effects in this country any longer. And that is totally unacceptable, and it's going to lead to an economic disaster. And I can share that with you because they've sat down with me and they've had these discussions with me. And I don't know if Mark has anything that he can lend to that part of it.
Right, we do have a break with Ms. Katina. You're always welcome, Mr. Pace, to stay as long as you can. Are you able to join us after the break? Continue, or you need to stay apart? You stay for a bit longer if you want. Up to you.
I will actually, if Mark is able to stay, I will leave Mark to share his thoughts.
He's in good hands, you think, huh?
I trust.
Absolutely.
I trust
that
he is. So God bless you, Cayman Islands. And be sure to tune into the Citizens Initiative in 2 weeks' time again, back here at 1 p.m. on Radio Cayman. Dwayne's going to do this announcement again later on. And visit our website for christian.ky for information on our legal funding donation plan. So that's christian.ky/donate. Thank you very much. God bless you. Have a good afternoon.
All right, Ms. Katina, thanks. And with that, we'll pause. And when we return, we'll continue the discussion. Mr. Mark Matthews will share, not just, if I may impose on you, legal expertise, your societal contributions, and the fight that we live in, hopefully in a very healthy democracy. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
The coconut industry on the Sister Islands boomed between 1890 to 1915, with annual exports exceeding 1 million per year. In 1906, the industry peaked, with the Sister Islands accounting for the entire export of the Cayman Islands. A coconut disease had previously killed off all of the trees in Grand Cayman. The industry was so successful that the government of the day went as far as to impose a special export duty. However, on Friday the 13th, 1915, a hurricane of unprecedented severity devastated the island of Cayman Brac, rendering most homeless and decimated 98% of the coconut trees on the Brac and 40% of those on Little Cayman. To add insult to injury, the coconut disease that struck Grand Cayman would soon arrive in the Sister Islands. During the 1920s and 1930s, efforts were made to revive the coconut industry, but the efforts were modest and the industry failed to reach its previous level of prosperity.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced from Founded Upon the Seas, A History of the Cayman Islands and Their People by Michael Creighton and the New History Committee.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brandsource Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brandsource Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Had a look at those investment options yet? Too busy. Look at today. Workout, breakfast, take the kids to school, back-to-back meetings, take Pepper to the vet, and she's apparently got allergies now, so... And that was all before 12. But you look relaxed. That's because my money's as busy as you.
With RF, you can access the best in local and international investments to keep your money busy, so you can spend more time focusing on you. Contact us at rfgroup.com to find out more. RF, money at work.
The Department of Commerce and Investment is asking clients to use their online services at www.dci.gov.ky for trade and business amendments, grant and renewal applications, and more. While the DCI counters remain open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, you can stay safe, avoid the line, and save time by applying online for business services at dci.gov.ky. For questions about the DCI's online service or other licensing enforcement or regulatory matters, please email info@dci.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks for joining us. And in the studio, Mr. Mark Matthews sits with us. And I appreciate your willingness to share. I can't say that I fully understand or accept the growing division that we're seeing across the globe, but even within our small community, where people in the past could sit and assemble and talk about almost anything under the sun, and even if it got heated the next day, we would only be too glad again to sit and continue that discussion or pick up, but not here. If I could, and only from the legal perspective, as an Oxford-trained attorney, as a retired practitioner now in our shores, we read in the media, with the greatest of deference to political leadership, we had it read that the FDA, which is the US is and not the UK, so therefore it's influential, but we're not bound by it here in this jurisdiction, said that it's approved, and then there are those, including yourselves, who just said, well, it's not. Is it approved? Is it not approved from your legal wranglings and mindset? Can you give us an understanding so that we can...
Yeah, well, the FDA did approve a Pfizer vaccine called Comirnaty, and they set out a lot of stipulations for that, including ongoing trials and sort of oversight of that drug, including in relation to myocarditis, pericarditis, things like that run till 2027. But that is, and they said in their letter, it is legally distinct from the emergency use Pfizer vaccine that is already out there, which is called BNT162b2. They are legally distinct. This BNT162b2 vaccine has been issued under emergency use authorization and has the full blanket immunity that the law provides. So neither the people giving it, the government, or the manufacturer are liable for any any side effects or adverse consequences, including death. Comirnaty, which is the one that has been approved by the FDA, is different because it has different legal protections. Its immunity cover is much more limited, so they are legally distinct. And as a matter of fact, Comirnaty hasn't even been manufactured. It does not exist.
So the one that we're taking this Pfizer,
that is the emergency use. And I'm just looking at the UK's website at the moment, and the latest update was, I think, on the 27th of September, and it says that this vaccine does not have marketing authorization, but this temporary authorization grants permission for the medicine to be used for active immunization. But it's a temporary authorization. That's not a full approval.
Okay, but I'm sorry, I do not wish to be disrespectful to you or to anybody else, but in the media, we whether it's print media or radio or video or some sort, we pick it up and it says that, so therefore we are inclined to believe it. Or politicians as well as other pundits have said it here and other jurisdictions. And then many of us would think, well, it's approved. I mean, they've said it, so there it is. You're saying definitively that.
Well, I'm only going off the actual FDA letter that provides for 2 separate vaccines that are legally distinct, using their words. Mm-hmm. The one that is approved, Comirnaty, doesn't exist yet. Mm-hmm. The one that we have here is the emergency use vaccine, which is still an experimental vaccine. And Dwayne, let me put it to you this way. This isn't a vaccine. These messenger RNA vaccines are not vaccines in the traditional sense. They don't. They're not attenuated viruses that have been run through animal cell lines, kidney cell lines, or whatever, monkey brains, all sorts of different cell lines to weaken them so that they then can be injected and produce an immediate response. This is a new type of technology never used on humans before, and it was introduced at warp speed, to use the language of Donald Trump. I don't know how quickly it was, 6, 8, 10 months, I'm not sure how long, but traditionally vaccines take 10 to 15 years to go through an approval process. There are animal trials, and then there's long-term testing to make sure they're safe, and we have had none of that in relation to this vaccine, which, by the way, as I said, is not a vaccine in the traditional sense. They changed the definition of vaccine to encompass this messenger RNA vaccine, which when you inject it, it takes over your DNA and makes it produce this S protein, the spike protein, the very protein that causes the damage in COVID-19. So your body is producing spike protein, which we now know is incredibly dangerous stuff. And then your body is producing antibodies to fight that. And to me, and that was always me looking at it very much as a layman, that is the definition of autoimmune disease. When your body is having to fight something it's producing. Yeah. And it never made any sense. And now we're finding that this spike protein, and this is based on a Japanese biodistribution study, which Pfizer had to do in order to distribute their vaccines in Japan. We're finding it doesn't stay these spike proteins in the arm. They're actually ending up in all the major organs. They're getting into people's bone marrow. They go through the blood-brain barrier and get into the brain. And we're also seeing it in the ovaries and testes. And we have no idea what the long-term consequences of this is in those places, including in relation to fertility of a whole generation of people. It's alarming, if you ask me. And the fact that we're basically taking a huge population, a part of the population globally, and experimenting on them, which is what this is at the end of the day, is alarming.
All right. Mark, we do have a call online, and as we take this call, I'll ask you to, place your headset so you be comfortable. But I want to talk about some of the others. Let's go to the phone. Say good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Sterling.
Afternoon, my friend. Afternoon. How are you today?
I am good, thank you. How you doing?
Very blessed and thankful. How about yourself?
I am good, thank you. Thankful as well, and I believe I'm blessed as well. And good afternoon to your guest in there. I don't know who your guest is. I only just caught I only just phoned on to the radio about 5 minutes before Katina left. So about 25 after, so I didn't get any of the introductions or anything. I'm not sure. Who's your guest here?
Well, it's Mark Matthews by 11 too.
Hello. My name's Mark Matthews. I'm an ex-attorney, so that's my background. I've been on the island for 20 years, and formerly an attorney in the UK before that.
Okay, so thank you, sir. I think it's worthwhile. Certainly what I've heard in the last 10 or 15 minutes is jarring, to say the least. Jarring because the gentleman, your guest, has identified himself as an attorney. And I'm wondering at what basis is he making all these statements that's contrary to everything that Cayman public has learned about in regards to our public health and regards to the vaccines. Never mind that there are thousands of Caymanians and thousands of other people who have taken the vaccine. And the fact that we have a pandemic and flu. Could he qualify where and why and how he's come about? Is this his personal research? He just made a statement a while ago that really irked me because the common air perhaps wouldn't take it up, and perhaps was the driving force for me calling. He said to use Donald Trump's words, and you implied this as if Donald Trump was as if he was saying this in a bad way. As I recall, he was making that as a brag because he was saying, look at what I did. I brought these vaccines forward. You are aware that Donald Trump has also taken the vaccine as well, right? Because you were implying it as if he was saying it was a bad thing. And I'm concerned, Dwayne, that the gentleman there who identifies himself as a lawyer is making one thing for you to be against the vaccine, and it's one thing for you to be against all these other things, but to put this out in the public to Cayman who have taken this and are, for the most part, trying to do our part to follow public health protocol, I think is dangerous, and in my view, is a horrible thing. That's my view. If you care to engage that a little bit more, I'll certainly be welcome to stay on the line because I don't want to get cut off anymore. But I'll sit and listen. That's just my view. It's horrible.
Mark, only if you wish. I can respond if you want to.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for your comments. And I understand. It's difficult. I think everybody is trying to do their best, and we have been told that we have to do certain things. I was simply pointing out that this isn't a traditional vaccine and that it has been developed incredibly quickly and by the standards of prior vaccines. And we don't know what the long-term consequences of this vaccine are simply because we haven't had animal trials. In fact, we did, but the animals all died. And we haven't had long-term testing because long-term testing by its nature is 10 to 15 years, and we're 1 year into this, or 8 months into this. So that was really my only point. And I only referenced Donald Trump because he is the one that coined, I think, the term that they were going to warp speed these vaccines. So that was all. I wasn't trying to infer anything there. And my background in this is that I'm trained to read documentation, analyse it. I went to Oxford University before that. I went to a prior university. I have studied. I do know how to look at documentation, and I do read the underlying documents, including all of I've read an awful lot of the studies. And all I would say is there are an awful lot of doctors out there, including some of the top epidemiologists and virologists, that are sounding similar warning signals to what I am, and we're just not getting to hear them. They don't get any airtime, and they are being deplatformed.
Well, that's the thing that I want to maybe ask you, because as we look increasingly at information across the globe, the more popular, seemingly subscribed sites traditionally seem to be saying one thing, and then there are these parliamentarians in different jurisdictions, these virologists and doctors who are asking questions and pointing to certain things. They're not seeming to get a voice, and when they're sort of subscribed to, they're all sort of unfortunate comments being ascribed to them. We can maybe speak to that at some point to see how we can address the narratives as opposed to accurate information.
And I'm sorry if what I'm saying is upsetting. I don't mean to be upsetting. I really don't. It's just I don't think people are getting the full picture as to what's going on. We continue to be told that these vaccines are safe and effective, but that runs completely contrary to the information that is on government's own databases. You only have to look at VAERS in the US, which is the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, and there are well over 15,000 deaths, and I think there are about 800,000 serious adverse events. And that system was they looked at updating it in 2009, and they commissioned a report by Harvard Pilgrim Health, who actually found that they thought maybe only 1% of all adverse events, including deaths, are actually reported into that system. And that's because doctors don't even know the system is there. They're not paid to put reports in. They're not encouraged. So that's the number in the system. Now, it may not be all correct, I grant you that, but that's the best they have. But you can look at the European system, which is called Vigilance, and they've got over, I think, about 30,000 deaths now reported into that system, and well north of 2 million adverse effects and injuries. And, UK has a system called Yellow Card Reporting System, and their numbers are about 1,500, 2,000 dead and a substantial number of adverse events and injuries. So all I would say is that in prior rollouts of novel types of vaccines, like the swine flu vaccine in 1976, where 25, 30 people died, they pulled that vaccine. And the same in 2009, there was a new vaccine for H1N1, and there were a series of narcolepsy cases in women. I think it was 90 or 100 cases, and that vaccine was pulled. So I don't understand why not only are we not sort of pausing this vaccine rollout when we've had so many deaths and adverse events, but we're actually doubling down and now mandating it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Let's take a couple of calls. Sure. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yes, hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Good afternoon, man. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, but this call is for your legal mind that you have there.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Okay, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Unlike the other caller before me, I want to really thank you for coming on air and discussing this with us, the Cayman Islands, let people knowing what's going on. My reasons for saying that is, Dr. Lee, okay, but the guy who called before said that you aren't certified to be talking about this. Well, the person who has been taken from or been taking all this talk from or the translation from is Dr. Lee, right? And he is not certified to be talking about it either. So if he has a bone to pick, he need to pick it with the government. Unlike you, you're just retracting what you have read. And I'm sure it's all credible stuff that you're retracting to us.
Yeah, just repeat it to us, yes, indeed, yeah. Okay.
And I really love that I love this flip side because unlike Dr. Lee, we have a mandate to push this thing through to the government. You don't.
Okay.
So I really applaud and I really respect you for coming on and doing that. But what I call on to give a great start, that nobody's looking at all these fear tactics, all the fear warning, all the fear stuff that we've been hearing about COVID. Okay, here's a fair start. That's a good one for the Cayman Islands to listen to. Cayman Islands is one of the only places that I've researched so far that we have 100% recovery rate from the COVID without a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
That, what I'm saying is, people who caught the COVID here, who weren't vaccinated, all have recovered. All. So I want to know, the government says that we're making it mandated because of what's happening and what's about to happen. But if you look into the real science of it, as you're looking at the science of it, what has happened? We have caught it like the common cold and it has passed. All these kids that have caught it from the preschools, none of them are vaccinated. All are recovering without a ventilator. My last check. So I want to know these facts that your legal mind there is putting out, because these are facts that we're not hearing. We're not hearing about what's going on. That's like Singapore has the highest vaccination rate, the highest this and the highest that, but yet they're going through the COVID thing same way.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And they're saying it's the people who are vaccinated who is actually incubating it longer to pass it around. So why are they afraid of me who says I'm unvaccinated? They have the bulletproof vest. I don't.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks for that.
Thank you very much, and thank you to your legal mind also, sir.
All right, appreciate it. Let's take another call. We can maybe take one or two more if we can get through quickly before the news. Welcome, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hi, good afternoon again. Dwayne? I just want to comment just briefly on your second to last caller's challenge to Mr. Matthews. They're still on the show. because that caller had been in Radio Cayman with me in 2016 when we were challenging the government deployment of the genetic mosquito program. Mm-hmm. And what we did was we read and we researched and we followed the leads and we clicked on the blue links and we asked questions, and we had this individual who we named Garcia, who was an amazing research analyst. And she would find the information that we needed so that we could put together the information to present to the public on Radio Cayman, the national radio station. But today,
hello, caller? Okay.
I'm going to disconnect shortly.
Yeah.
It's amazing that today a qualified attorney can't sit in a radio station and share with us the information that he has diligently researched without challenge from a hypocrite who has followed the same procedure, even preceding the guest on the show today. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks very much. And we're heading into our news break. We do have some callers online. If they are able to stay on the line, if they want us to call us back, well, let us know. Paul, we'll check with them and we'll do that and take our calls. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years,
so much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
COVID-19 vaccines are the only way forward in reopening our borders safely. Take the COVID-19 vaccine to protect yourself and the ones you love, especially those of us who cannot get vaccinated. For more information on the COVID-19 vaccine, visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brack and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. Today's biggest news.
Public Health is reassuring the public today after questions are raised regarding a potential link between the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine against COVID-19 disease and the diagnosis of Guillain-Barré syndrome in a resident of the Cayman Islands. The chief medical officer in a written statement says a number of serious medical conditions have developed in people who have received vaccinations against COVID-19 disease in these islands, but it is exceedingly difficult to prove cause and effect as other issues may be involved in each individual patient. Turning to international news now, vote counting was underway in Iraq on Monday, a day after record low turnout in a parliamentary election, reflecting what many Iraqis said was a loss of faith in the country's democratic process and political class. Sunday's vote was held in response to mass protests in 2019 that demanded jobs, services, the removal of Iraq's ruling parties, and overhaul of the political system. Security forces and militias killed hundreds of protesters in a brutal crackdown on the unrest. The turnout in Sunday's election was 41%. The Electoral Commission said the lowest turnout was in Baghdad, with between 31% and 34%. Czech's president is in a stable condition in intensive care after he was hospitalized following a dramatic election that saw a majority of voters reject the country's populist prime minister. Miloš Zeman, who plays a crucial role in choosing the next prime minister, was admitted to the hospital on Sunday after holding talks with embattled PM. The Czech Republic's political future remains in limbo while Zeman is treated. One of the president's main constitutional roles is to select the next prime minister to form a government. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thank you for joining us and the good company of Mark Matthews as we go straight to the phones. Welcome. Thanks for staying online. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon.
From the back again.
Oh, hey, how are you? How are you today?
All right, buddy. Good, man. Good. Hope the best for you and your family.
Thank you. And to you as well, sir.
Your guest there, Mr. Matthews. I was so disappointed to hear that gentleman before the last two callers call and discredit that gentleman for standing up for the people of the Cayman Islands. Even though we are a British territory, he is a Britain citizen. And he's here trying to protect the people, trying to advise the people in a sensible manner. And to know that some people just doesn't have, I don't want to use the word in words, but the gall to call and say thanks to someone that of that man caliber to stand and protect us in a sense, to say these type of vaccines have not been okayed by the FDA, whoever it is, has to mandate.
But this is only in the U.S., right? The approval for the U.S.
Yes, exactly. And the whole thing is the man. He started there. He gave a good demonstration of or explanation of what the causes are for these vaccinations. Because when you stop and think, how can something that overshadow the world can be something can come out and be a cure within a matter of 6 months. Let's take, for instance, let's go back to when the polio and the what the one in Africa had name again? The
Ebola, I mean? Which one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look how much years it took for them to find, and I still not think that they found a complete cure for that. Because these different diseases that comes off of these is still coming off Ebola and SARS and everything else. These are still traces of the same SARS and all the other diseases. So how can we just sit down and accept that something must be put in our bodies in a 6-month trial just so the government can be satisfied, push down in the people, because the government right now has the leeway over the people to say to vaccinate or put it like what I later said, or you don't have no job. How can our government that we put there come and tell us if we don't put something in our bodies, our children or whatever can't have jobs in the government sector? This mandating should be for those that want to take it, not those that doesn't want to. We have a right, like I said before, and I don't understand how this government, just to get tourism back in the Cayman Islands. Yes, I understand we need the economy back up and running, but we have to secure our people, because if we kill the people, what good is the money in the country?
Right.
And I must take my hat off to the guy that called defending that lawyer, and the lady also that just called, because he made some good statements, and it got me thinking. I mean, I wondered all the time listening to Dr. Lee, was he just abiding by what the government telling him to say, or is he telling the people the truth?
All right, thanks very much. And very rarely we hear people defending lawyers. Huh?
That's right.
Never had this before.
I wish he can send me his card. I would like to get in contact with him.
All right.
But anyway, I would leave him my number if he want to call me so I can get his card. One day I might need him. So just tell him to take my number. It's 927-6677. Have him call me anytime he wants.
Thank you.
Anyway, you have a good day. You and Mr. Matthews.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Okay, all right.
Bye.
Enjoy after we take another of the calls. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Hi, good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you today, Mom?
I'm well. I would like to say about Mr. Matthews that if he has survived 20-odd years with, or had a career of over 20 years with the Maples group, I would think he is quite qualified to speak as a lawyer anyway. And I am happy, I'm extremely happy that he has come on and, prepared to take, I'm sure he knew he was going to take some abuse, because we have some people like that. But it is time that we hear the other side of this story. It's almost as if we have people, I don't know whether they're being paid or what, to push a particular agenda. But any sensible person should want to hear the pros and the cons. We should want to hear both sides. And then I know I have people that I know, a lady that called in this morning, they clearly don't understand that this vaccine or this shot, this jab as it's being called, is it's a different thing. It is not our traditional vaccine, which, by the way, many people didn't trust even the conventional vaccines that were given to children and all that. And there are many who will tell you that there is a link between some of the childhood vaccines and autism and the rest of it. I mean, I know a lady from here who had to move away with her child, and she felt it was proven that the autism was linked to a vaccine. Anyway, getting back to this particular one, I do not see how anyone can feel that this vaccine could be 100% safe when it did not have time. It simply didn't have the time to go through the rigorous testing that is required to prove safety of any of these. If it did have that time to be tested, because it appears that it was sitting there waiting to be released, then I go back to that other conspiracy theory that the disease was created in order to sell the vaccine,
Right. Well, that's probably a lot of...
I don't believe in the vaccine. I don't even think it should be called a vaccine. I don't believe in this one. What I don't understand is why the Western Hemisphere believes that we always know more than the more populated countries of the world. Take India, that is a leader in technology and so many other things. India is having a very, very successful rate with this, and they're not using Western vaccines. They're using a more conventional type vaccine, and they're having excellent results. Yet, on this side of the world, we don't even get to hear about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not right. Pfizer and the big U.S. and UK pharmaceutical companies are pushing their agenda, and people somewhere are making a lot of money, and apparently some of it is dribbling down right here into the government coffers of the Cayman Islands.
Right.
There is a reason why it is being pushed to the extent that it is. Well, as for me and my house, we will take our chances on natural immunity.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And let's see what our other listeners have to share. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, Sterling.
Welcome back again, my friend. Welcome back.
Oh, welcome. Yeah, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Of course, man.
Let me just make this absolutely clear. Okay? So your caller, Katina.
Mm-hmm.
My stance on the mosquitoes, I don't know what hers was, were based on us asking questions that she said and them not being answered. And we did our research. I have absolutely no qualms with that gentleman, Mr. Mark, being Mr. Matthews being in there, and for all the other callers who call in, because Dwayne can stand on his own. I have no qualms with him coming in and sharing his views on his research. I called in when he made a few qualified statements in regards to what the vaccines will do to you or otherwise. And I was asking, as you can recall, I called and asked what was his background because I missed who he was at the beginning.
All right.
And when I learned that when I learned that he was a lawyer, I wondered, well, on what basis is he making these very qualified statements to the public?
Right, which is why we had set that stage.
But let me finish doing, please, and challenging these very our public officials, and particularly our own doctors and nurses. I spoke to my doctor. Let me just say this clear. I had my own hesitancy in regards to this vaccine, like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no different from nobody else. In fact, my push and my own research was telling me to go towards the AstraZeneca, which was created by Oxford, the same institution that the gentleman said he has been schooled by. But it wasn't available locally. And so when I decided to drive my 77-year-old mother to the West Bay Town Hall to get her vaccinations, that wasn't done with any sort of small thought or otherwise. So don't come chatting foolishness as if I'm coming here challenging this gentleman for his views. I'm challenging this gentleman because of the views that he shared. It's one thing, as I said, to be against the vaccine or to have your own feelings in regard to the vaccine. Everybody knows that anything that you weren't born with and that was jabbed inside of you may not be good. People take aspirin and they can have heart attacks. Everybody knows this. Nobody is mistaken about this. And I would like to believe that most people who've taken the vaccine has made that underlying decision. But I want to leave this with you all. And I'd like for the good lawyer in your studio today to please address and tell me, because the dots have to connect, and I keep telling you this. Answer to me what's going on in Jamaica. Answer to me, and that's with people dying. Answer to me what's going on in Bermuda and what's his remedies for what's going on in Bermuda, since they're a little bit close and they're very similar to us, and what's going on in Jamaica. What's his remedy and what's his suggestion to the Caymanian people otherwise, because he seems to be suggesting something otherwise on public health. If he doesn't want us to take these vaccines, what's his solution for us wanting to open and our people starting to die? Tell me why would Cayman be any different? That's my question. And Katrina, we can have a debate whenever you want on the radio in regards to this, okay?
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that call. And if you should choose Mark to respond, I thought we could
I'm very happy to talk about that. I mean, I was on a call the other night. I don't know if you may have heard it, with Dr. Peter McCullough. Dr. Peter McCullough is considered probably the top cardiologist in the world. He's American. He's spoken before Congress, and he's given he has a hell of a lot of credentials behind his name, and he was saying there were 5 key points, and I will get to this gentleman who just spoke points after this. He just said, look, this virus does not spread without symptoms. No symptoms, then no testing. These are his points, not mine. By the way, he was one of the first doctors to come up with a protocol for treating COVID last year this was before the vaccines even existed. And he and other doctors have done so. They have developed a number of protocols that actually work. And we're talking about doctors on the ground treating people. We're not talking about Dr. Fauci or other doctors that are working for the World Health Organization that are really just paid officials. These are guys on the ground that are getting results. People like Dr. Zelenko in New York, who've treated thousands of patients without vaccines and have had great success. And we're talking things like hydroxychloroquine and zinc, ivermectin, budesonide, and there are a few others as well, but in combination with regular drugs as well. So these guys do know what they're talking about. And Peter McCulloch said that even the World Health Organization has said that you should not test asymptomatic people. The PCR tests are not approved for people who are actually healthy. He then went on to say that if you've had COVID-19 and recovered, you won't get it again, i.e. natural immunity is far better than any vaccine immunity. And Israeli studies are now coming out that back that up in spades. And then he went on to talk about the fact that COVID is very treatable and that you can treat it early. And he had named a protocol with a number of the things that I'd already just mentioned. So, it's not the case that you have to leave someone to get really sick and then put them in hospital. There are lots of things you can do to treat COVID. And one of the things I noted in the last year that I thought was odd was that no one was ever talking about boosting people's immune systems. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things that you can do, including things like vitamin D, vitamin C, and other vitamins that will really help you. And one of the things that in my reading that has become very clear is a lot of people, especially black people, who get COVID are vitamin D deficient. And there's a very strong correlation there. So these are simple things that can be done. And in Cayman, a lot of people are vitamin D deficient because they don't go in the sun or they put sunscreen on. And Dr. McCullough's fifth key point was he said, well, the vaccines simply aren't safe enough or good enough for everybody because there are people getting sick and there are people getting injured and dying. And they're not stopping transmission. And these are facts. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but these vaccines aren't doing what they say. And when people say they're safe, that just flies in the face of all the evidence that you're seeing on these websites. As for Jamaica, I don't know a lot about Jamaica at the moment. I understand the numbers are going up. But places like India, Uttar Pradesh implemented ivermectin and brought COVID death down to zero. They didn't have any vaccine mandates. So there are alternatives. It's just you don't hear about them. And, I do a lot of reading, and a lot of the doctors that I read online are some of the best doctors in the world, the best epidemiologists and virologists. And they're not getting a voice. They don't get to go on TV. You don't hear them. They're getting deplatformed. And I just wonder why. I don't know if you've heard of something called the Great Barrington Declaration, which was signed October last year. The top 3 epidemiologists in the world signed that. And what they said was, we shouldn't be having lockdowns, and we've never locked down healthy people before, by the way, and we shouldn't be quarantining and locking ourselves into a corner here. What they suggested was that those people who are at risk, i.e. older people and people with comorbidities, they're the ones we should be protecting. They're the ones that should be isolating. Put our money towards that and let the rest of society go about its business in a normal way. Right. And maybe that is the key to moving forward.
Right. Mark, there's a question on our WhatsApp that's asked if you would be mindful of sharing your opinion on the lock-in of families that have tested negative but are being forced into quarantine for 2 weeks and sometimes more. Now, that's only if you wish to weigh in, because we're hearing from.
I've heard a lot of people talking about this, and it's very unfortunate because it's sort of even 2 steps removed from the person that's tested positive with PCR. And we're getting into a very knotty area here, as Dr. McCulloch said, that these tests weren't really designed for testing healthy people. And the problem is they're running up to 40 cycles here in the Cayman Islands and on the PCR testing. And when you run that number of cycles, there's the overwhelming majority of the tests will come back false positive. up to 97% will be false positive, which means you have asymptomatic people, healthy people, that have simply come up with a positive test that isn't actually correct. So what you're doing is you're locking down people that aren't ill. You haven't gone through a due process. I mean, there's something called habeas corpus. It's one of the oldest common law remedies, and that's that you shan't be locked up without going before a judiciary, a judge. And that seems to be what we're doing right now. We're locking people away for up to 2-3 weeks at a time on the basis of a PCR test that is, quite frankly, not fit for purpose. And, it's causing people financial hardship. I mean, a lot of people need to work, and they're locked down. They can't work.
All right. Paul, you want to take the call, or where we are, my friend? All right. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello?
Hi. Afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Mr. Dwayne.
Yes, sir, my friend. How are you?
All right, man. Listening to you and your lawyer, man.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, man. All right.
It look like them people. They have better luck trying to slide tackle the virus on the insurance with this thing.
On the Iron Shore.
Yeah. It's not getting over if they just made this vaccine like that. That don't go like that. You can't beat AIDS without magic. That's the only how. Because remember now, AIDS went on for how long? They don't got a vaccine for that, no. Right? But the thing is, I trying to get across to the people is, that, the economy is something, but listen, the economy ain't nothing without the people. And let's go back to those days when we know it, we know it, and we understand that for every disease there's a plant and something out there that cures it. Not true? Just not find it yet. We just can't have these people trying to stop us from trying to learn that cure. You understand? You not see how fast they try and chop down everything. That cure must be somewhere down that bush. Them fires, them California fires, them Amazon fires, all them things started only during COVID.
Well, certainly something to consider. I mean, not the medicines have been derived from plants, but what else do you want to share with us, man?
I want to say, I am hoping that people can see the difference between, what we need and what we want. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, man. And we do have maybe another call or two to take, and we're almost time with the show. But Mark, when we come back, we can continue the discussion. Please, stay tuned.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
You can now register to receive a securely verified digital copy of your COVID-19 vaccination status with QR code through the My HSA patient portal. Sign up is available at all HSA locations and at various sites throughout the community. To register, all you need is your photo ID showing date of birth and a valid email address. Visit hsa.ky and click My HSA patient portal for the sign-up schedule and more information.
The 8:10 a.m. Weather Report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
Are you interested in learning more about providing great service during COVID-19? The Cayman Islands Department of Tourism invites you to sign up for a free training course, Aquila Service Excellence COVID-19 Edition. This free training will provide guidance on how to interact with customers while adhering to COVID-19 protocols. Sessions will be held every Wednesday in October. For more information and to register, head to aquila.ourcayman.ky. That's aquila.ourcayman.ky. Deadline to register is the Monday before each session.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us. And thanks to our callers for sharing their thoughts and to Mark Matthews for being our guest as we go to the phones. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. How are you?
Thank you, guys, for being there and for what they said. I have had my 2 shots for COVID. It hasn't done me anything, at least not so far, thank God.
Thank God. Mm-hmm.
But I've heard about people that had the shot and got blood clots and had other side effects that wasn't too good, and then this G-something disease, and I read somewhere where Dr. Lee said after so many 100,000 or whatever it was, at these COVID injections, that but out of that many, 42 is all that got this G-something disease. Well, honest to God, they say they can't prove that's what it's from, but it does seem strange that is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I have a friend who lives in Florida. I had an email from her. She had both of her shots for COVID, and she went to an event and was exposed there, even though she was wearing her mask. But of course, she took it off while she was eating. And she said, I have had only mild symptoms, and I'm doing much better. Yesterday, I received the Regeneron. I'm not sure if I can pronounce that right.
Right, that's the
Generon antibody treatment, and was amazed at how fast the sneezing and running nose left me.
Monoclonal antibodies.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we have that kind of antibiotic treatment here, but if we don't, I think we should get it.
But you also find that someone may go to one place to take a test, and it comes back negative, then they may go back the day or the next day because they're not feeling well and take the test somewhere else, and then they come back positive. So, yeah. It's interesting.
Anyway, another thing she said here, I believe there should be much more focus on treatment such as the one I received, rather than relying on vaccines and lockdowns as the only ways to fight it. That is not sustainable in the long term, and is scaring people and making their lives miserable is very harmful.
Mm-hmm.
I am hoping that I will receive a negative test within the next few days. So, I just wanted to share that with you all.
All right. Thanks very much for that. All right.
Thank you.
Those rapid antigen tests, I think, is what you're referring to. Let's take these other 2 calls. And good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello?
Afternoon, Dwayne.
Welcome, my friend. Afternoon to you.
Quick statement.
Yes, sir.
I think by now, most people with any sense has to know that COVID was man-made. And my prayer now to God every day is get to the root of COVID, get the people that started it, get the people that financed it, get the people that have been paid off to carry it out. And when they get sentenced in court, they get 14,000 years in jail.
All right.
Because that's what I know is happening. That's what I know is happening.
All right.
And I think a lot of people tell me the same thing. That's exactly what's happening. And they come up with all this. And the same people that are creating it, that paid to create it, is involved in shareholders and P5s and all these vaccines. And look at how it's done. They lock the beaches, that's vitamin D. They quarantine you, that's stressful. You wear a mask all day long. I couldn't have a job right now with a mask on all day long. It would drive me crazy. I just had to go to the insurance office and I had to go to the bathroom and take my mask off for a while because I had to wait. It's very unhealthy. So they're trying to kill us in all different ways, but at the end of the day, they will be caught. Pray. Have a good day, Dwayne. Take care.
All right. Thank you very much, John. And we perhaps can take one or maybe final call. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Good evening to you and the guest.
Good evening.
First of all, I'm pro-vaccine, right? I'm vaccinated and everything, right?
Okay.
But what puzzling me with this whole argument is both sides got good argument, you know. The pro-vaccine side and the anti-vaccinators, if you could call them that, right? Both sides got good argument, you know. So it just boils down to what you believe. So that's like the Bible. Either you believe in it or you don't believe in it. I would hope to say, because I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? So if what the anti-vaxxers are saying and what I'm putting together, they're saying that the government the government of the world is deliberately putting this vaccine out here and all of us are guinea pigs. So that's a conspiracy theory. I hope that would be proven. And I would wonder what, along the lines what our last caller was saying, if and when these people are going to go to jail, and if it could be proven, because that's an astonishing argument. You imagine the governments of the world having this vaccine and killing people deliberately or indeliberately, because first of all, if they're killing people deliberately, right, to get rid of for the population control or whatever the argument is that I've heard, right? Okay, they got good people in this, and I would imagine that, okay, well, we gonna get rid of all of the people with this vaccine. We got kill them all the criminals, all the child abusers, and the perverts and all that. We got get rid of them with this vaccine, and we are seeing the good people, but that's not happening. So good people are dying too. Frontline people are dying. Doctors are dying. People that we need, you know. Policemen are dying. People that we need, you know. So what this vaccine, it works for some and it doesn't work for some. So that is all they're saying, and doctors are telling you that it works for some people and it don't work for some people. So how the argument now, well, it's bad for everybody now, is a different argument. And you could tell me now, well, what the long-term effects on it can be. We don't know, because like any medication out there, we don't know what the long-term effects can be. You watch them on TV. If you take this, you beware of this bleeding and all the side effects, all these new drugs that come onto the market. They tell you what the side effects is on the drugs. Well, if you're experiencing this or you're experiencing that, consult your doctor, because there are side effects. Every drug that has come to the world has been tested. They were even testing them, either they test them in a laboratory. They were even testing them, the argument in Africa, they were testing them on them people in Africa, on the poor people in Africa to find out how it works. Advil medication. Advil was tested in Africa for maybe 5 or 6 years before they brought it to the northern hemisphere or the modern world to try it on us. So I'm not arguing with the anti-vaxxers. I'm just saying that's an astonishing argument, and I wish and I hope and I pray that it could be proven, even though I'm vaccinated, because I think that's the only chance that I got. I mean, I took it and I don't feel no difference yet. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying maybe they're right. Who knows? But I would hope that and wish that it would be proven soon, because I'm getting sick of the argument. It's not good for you. It's good for you. It's not good for you. It's good for you.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I'm saying. So that's a conspiracy theory. If you don't believe in a conspiracy theory, that is one. What the anti-vaxxers are saying, because they're saying now that the government know that this thing doesn't work, and all these
right.
chemicals or whatever is inside this vaccine is bad for the people. That's what the anti-vaxxers people are saying. So that's an astonishing argument. So I wish that it would hurry up and be proven.
All
you know, that's all I got saying. So I mean, you know, that's a conspiracy theory. If you ever heard one?
All right.
You know? Yeah,
well,
man. All right, man.
Thank you too for sharing that.
Thank you.
And I appreciate all the listeners. And Mark, there's one thing that maybe we can surmise from all this: we're very divided. Not just in our relations, but even in where we source our information and where we question. Well, you listen to that can't be true. Whether that thing is the official thing from past, or whether it's a thing that says, hey, here's a physician, a virologist, a scientist who just based on research and published studies or what they witnessed firsthand, this is what they shared. We're at a place where we no longer have meaningful dialogue. It's us and them.
Unfortunately, that appears to be the case. It's a real shame, because I think, you know, we're all human beings and we're all looking for the same things. We want security, we want safety, we all love our families and friends, and I just wish we could find some common ground on this. And we have never force vaccinated people before on this scale for something that at the end of the day has a recovery rate of 99.9 something % for most people.
Mm. But increasingly, and I'm hoping that maybe Cayman can be the beacon. Maybe in the Cayman Islands we can demonstrate perhaps what democracy is like. It should be where a discussion is had, publicly and privately, where people share their views without it being vitriolic, without it being in a space where we come to blows, as they would say. That's my prayer.
I think compassion and respect for the other viewpoint is very important, and to understand where people are coming from, especially people who've taken a vaccine and maybe are very fearful, and they're hearing things about the vaccine that are worrying. It's not an easy place to be.
Right. And then, some who feel, if I may use the word forced, because, mandatory is the new word. Do I take this and worry about the consequence? Do I refuse it and now have the reality of not being able to be employed, not be able to go to places, socialize? It can't be easy for people in that particular situation.
No, and some people are leaving because of it. I know I have friends who are not going to be sticking around. They're going to have to find somewhere else to live.
Can I ask in closing, it's not so much that I necessarily would welcome a response from you likewise, but from others. We live in this country. Many of us can count the years that we've actually left the country. But people seemingly, in the UK, for instance, and other parts, are moving about a little more freely. They seem to be having some semblance of life. For some reason here we think that that's not existing, that travel is this difficult thing, other than the mask wearing in the airports, the physically being distanced and check-in and the like. It seems to be no more than what it was before, but for that. Is that how life is on the outside, or are we oblivious to what it is and we're in our own cocoon?
I think there are plenty of places where life is going on as normal. I mean, I saw on the TV there was a football game in America with 100,000 there yesterday, and
real people in the stands.
Yeah, in the stands, going about their business as normal and not living in fear.
Yeah, but we're becoming divided here. We're becoming a place where people aren't socializing. That there has to be a psychological impact, but also an economic impact. No money in the economy, the multiplier effect can't continue without dollars circulating.
I would say your fellow human is not your enemy. They're not a toxic being that you can't be around. We've evolved with each other for thousands of years. Right. Our bodies have thousands of viruses in them at any given time. We've suddenly become incredibly fearful, and I don't think that's the way to go.
Right. Well, Mark, thanks for sharing with us. Thanks to Coutinho for sponsoring this segment.
Thanks, Dwayne.
And to our listeners, I say this with a great sense of love. Maybe we'll exhibit and exercise more love one to another. We can find that compassion of which you speak. And maybe, in our households where there's some who have gone and taken the injection, and some who are a bit reluctant for now, for whatever reason. Let's do what you just shared and love one another and not be divided any further. But if we are, then we lose.
Amen.
My friend, have a blessed and productive, enjoyable, safe week. And to our listeners, if you see me and you live and you love and you laugh, that's great. If you see me and you ignore me, well, you know what? Let me find a way.
No more lawyer jokes.
No more lawyer jokes. And with that, I was going to share one, but I won't.
No, go for it.
No, I won't. And to my good friend, it was a pleasure. Hopefully it'll continue to be even more so. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours